Even though he could not see through Han Sen's mind, Nalan could see through his body. The body could make a lot of deceptive appearances, but under the Akala mantra, he could see almost every inch of Han Sen's muscle. It was almost impossible to fool Nalan. After all, one would have to move certain muscles to use real strength, and there was no way around that. For Nalan Chengyuo, this kind of judgment was not difficult. Han Sen had no secrets in the eyes of Nalan. All his muscles and even the speed of his breathing were imprinted in Nalan's mind. White fist. Nalan made his own judgment. There was no doubt that it was a white fist since Han Sen used hardly any muscles that he would use for other moves. Although Nalan had determined it was a white fist, he still raised his arms to parry. It was not because he had no confidence in his judgment, but out of his respect for the opponent. Bang! Nalan's expression suddenly changed, as Han Sen's fist landed on his arm and threw him away. It was determined as a black fist. It turned out to be black fist. Nalan was slightly startled. The audience was deadly silent. When Zixu opened her mouth wide and her eyes almost popped out of her head. She could not believe Han Sen got another point against Nalan Chengyuo. This is not possible. Zhu Yundi also felt incredulous, except for the guy in the Alliance Central Military Academy. He had not ever seen anyone who could get the first point facing Nalan. After a brief silence, people who were watching online became wild. My god, he scored first against Nalan. Is he about to achieve 5-3-0? Sent. Germain will go insane. That's amazing. This guy is not just great with a warframe. Black Fist Emperor. If he could give Nalan a 0, I will call him Your Highness. Your Highness, please accept my allegiance. It's just 1 point. Don't get excited too early. The comments were exploding, and in the end, no one could see what they were saying since the page rolled down too fast. Except for in the match against the guy from the Alliance Central Military Academy. People had not seen Nalan fail for a long time. Blackhawk students were cheering and Jai Yanran was so excited that her face reddened. Bai Yishan was intrigued. Touching his chin, he asked himself, this is really interesting. One is pure and insightful, an angel from heaven. The other has strong control, but is more like a cunning devil from hell, who can do better in the end. In the game, Nalan had restored his Zen. A failure like that was not enough to shake him. But he had to admit that he had underestimated Han Sen. Han Sen's techniques were not as good as the guy from Alliance Central Military Academy, but he was more cunning. Maybe his flaws had made him strong. You're good. Nalan stood opposite Han Sen and said, thank you. Han Sen accepted the compliment. Ready. Nalan's eyes were calm and steady, without any emotional fluctuations from his failure. Han Sen did not hesitate to punch at him. An ordinary punch as it was, it attracted the attention of millions of people. All were nervously staring at Han Sen's fist. Among all the people, Nalan was the calmest. He watched Han Sen's punch quietly. It was almost exactly the same punch as the last one and seemed to be a white fist again. No matter how Nalan saw it, it was a white fist, since the punch simply could not carry the kind of strength that a black fist would require. There were still a lot of flaws in Han Sen's move, but now Nalan knew that Han Sen had immense control of his muscles, and the barely noticeable flaws that only he could see were traps Han Sen had set. But Nalan did not panic. Even if he could not tell whether it was a white fist, Nalan could still make a reasonable judgment. And that was the judgment of Han Sen as a person. Since Han Sen used an ID such as Black Fist Emperor, he must be a person with absolute self-confidence. In the 4 previous rounds, Han Sen had attacked 12 times, only 3 of which were white fists. And Nalan had paid attention to every detail and knew that Han Sen would have the smile on his face whether he used a black fist or a white one. But when Han Sen was using a black fist, his smile would be slightly more tilted than when he was using a white fist. An average person would not see the difference, and only someone as observant as Nalan could notice this clue. Nalan knew that this was due to Han Sen's preference of black fist. Han Sen must really enjoy the kind of pleasure of hitting his opponent, and was excited to experience that. That was why he would smile a little more, and this subtle clue was again tested to be true in the previous punch. Nalan Chengyuo had confirmed that Han Sen had the same kind of smile when using the black fist. That's right, this one must be a white fist. Nalan's eyes lit up. He crossed his arms and was ready to block the white fist. Han Sen's smile at this moment was the one he would put on when giving a white fist. Boom. With the sparks generated by the system, Nalan Chengyuo was blown away. Nalan had lost again. 2 points in a row. Not even the guy from the Alliance Central Military Academy could do that to Nalan. Thinking back of what she had said and done before the competition, Wen Zixu felt her face burning, as if she had been slapped by someone. Wen Zixu even touched her face, as if that feeling was real. As strong as Nalan Chengyuo, he had been shaken by the situation. Biting his lips, he fixed his eyes on Han Sen. Has he been calculating right from the start? Bai Yishan saw Nalan Chengyuo's look and sighed. Nalan is still too young and is easily shaken. He has lost already. But Bai Yishan's gaze at Han Sen became hot. Maybe this person is the best candidate to practice Yin Yang Blast. And the fact was exactly like how Bai Yishan had predicted. Nalan Chengyuo's mind was shaken completely. He could no longer maintain his keen observance nor his calm. In the 3rd round, he was blown away by Han Sen. At this moment, even Han Sen's friends could not believe that their school had beaten Saint Germain completely. It was a victory they had never seen before. After a short silence, all the students from Blackhawk started to cheer, and they were shouting Emperor. In the online community, people had also gone insane. Sent. Germain had lost like never before, and it was accomplished by the guy whose ID name was Black Fist Emperor. He is indeed an emperor. All players in front of him had to bow their heads, even Nalin Chengyuo. Wow, has Sent. Germain never lost like this in their history. Haha, I feel like this game rule should be changed. When night falls, by the glistening pond and under a willow tree, a young couple were standing together. Close your eyes. Why should I do that? Please, no. If you don't close your eyes, I'll leave. You can't eat your own words, so close your eyes. Okay, no peeking. Alright. Seeing Hansen had closed his eyes, Jai Yanran, whose cheeks were red, tiptoed and leaned her face towards Hansen's. However, before her pink lips touched his face, she saw that he opened his eyes and watched her with a faint smile. Feeling ashamed, Jai Yanran wanted to stop and turn away. Yet Hansen's hands had held her small waist and she suddenly fell in his arms. His mouth covered hers. When Hansen was enjoying making out with his beautiful girlfriend, his comlink suddenly rang. Hansen wanted to turn it off, but his girlfriend pressed answer. Suddenly, a sexy woman in white lingerie with her boobs almost popping out showed up in the holographic image. I'm sorry, Sen. It seems that I am interrupting you guys. I will hang up, the sexy woman said with her face gloomy and hung up. You asshole. Jai Yanran stepped on Hansen's foot madly and turned away. I can explain. Hansen chased after her. I don't want to listen. Jai Yanran did not really want to run. She turned her head away childishly. Having to explain to her while walking, Hansen blamed Huanfu Pinking secretly. He believed that she was doing it on purpose. In her dorm, Huanfu Pinking was in a great mood and humming a song. Of course she meant it. She had been informed that Jai Yanran and Hansen went to the lakeside, and that was why she had calculated the time and changed into the right outfit before she dialed Hansen's number. You won't be able to run from me, Huanfu Pinking said to herself while enjoying her bath. Hansen went to the auction that Huanfu Pinking mentioned, and the two Sacred Blood Beast Soul both ended up with skyrocketing prices. He had nothing to bid with in the auction. The Sacred Blood Flying Beast Soul was bought by Lin Beifeng with $178 million, whereas the Three-Blade Harpoon was even more popular and was won by Son of Heaven in the end with $230 million, which made Hansen feel quite unbelievable. He had wanted to sell his SKTS and put in all his savings, but had to let that thought go, because he simply did not have enough. The crazy prices made him want to sell his own Sacred Blood Beast Souls at one point. He could become rich immediately, even if he could sell his Sacred Blood Beast Soul each at just $100 million. He would have several $100 million by now. However, this kind of money was not enough for someone rich to buy an interstellar spaceship, so it really was nothing. After the auction, Hansen was thinking where he should go hunting. The moment he walked out of Steel Armor Shelter, the sky suddenly became dark. It is noon now. How come it suddenly became dark? Is it going to rain? Hansen felt weird because the sky was very clear just now. When he looked up, Hansen almost jumped. There was not a piece of cloud in the sky, but a giant island floating above the Steel Armor Shelter like a mountain upside down, blocking the sun and covering the shelter and its surrounding areas in the shadow. Mystery Island. It is a mystery island, exclaimed someone. Hansen also recognized that it was a mystery island. He had only seen it online before. It was his first time to see a mystery island in the real life. The mystery island was a floating island that occasionally appeared in the sky. Each mystery island had a sacred blood creature guarding it, and according to people's experience, if someone killed a sacred blood creature on the island, one would get its sacred blood beast soul for sure. Therefore, seeing the island meant chance of getting a sacred blood beast soul. However, it was not easy to fly that high and land on the mystery island. Neither primitive nor mutant flying beast souls could carry one that high. Only sacred blood beast souls could, which was the threshold to land on the island. Hansen became thrilled. Steel Armor Shelter did not have many flying beast souls to offer, and people here had not even heard of any sacred blood wings, except for his purple winged dragon. The other pair of wings known to people in addition to his was just sold by Huanfu Pinking, and was now in Lin Beifeng's hand. Hansen felt amused. Huanfu Pinking must be regretting right now. Had she waited a little longer, the sacred blood wings would be even more expensive than the three-blade harpoon. Son of Heaven is definitely also regretting not having bought the sacred blood wings. Hansen found a secluded spot and summoned the black beetle armor which had recovered from the previous damages and his purple winged dragon beast soul. He could not wait to fly to the mystery island. When he was up in the air, he saw from afar that from the other direction someone else was also flying toward the mystery island. Lin Beifeng is fast enough, Hansen thought, and approached that person. But when he was closer he saw that it was not Lin Beifeng, but Son of Heaven. What's wrong? Didn't Lin Beifeng buy that pair of sacred blood wings? How did it end up in Son of Heaven's hand? Hansen frowned, feeling puzzled. Although Son of Heaven's eyesight was not as good as Hansen's eye-catching golden outfit was easy to recognize. After seeing Hansen, Son of Heaven speeded up toward the mystery island. Obviously, he did not want to be approached by Hansen. Hansen was still far from Son of Heaven and decided to go to the island directly. This is a great opportunity to kill Son of Heaven, now that he is alone, and none of his gang member is with him. Maybe I could even get rid of him right now. Squinting his eyes, Hansen flew toward the island. Son of Heaven's wings were no slower than purple winged dragons. Hansen was not able to close in. The wind became cold when he went higher up, but Hansen felt nothing because he had sacred blood armor and jade skin. On the other hand, Son of Heaven was not that lucky. His armor only covered his upper body and he was shuddering. if it was not because Son of Heaven had almost maxed out on all his Geno points. Even with the sacred blood beast soul wings, he wouldn't be able to fly up to the mystery island. After flying for a while, Son of Heaven's eyebrows and hair became white with ice. Damn it, why is the wind so strong? Son of Heaven cursed. It was also the first time for him to come to a mystery island. He had seen it before, but he did not have sacred blood beast soul wings and was not able to go up. Son of Heaven had slowed down. It seemed that he was really frozen. When Hansen was hesitating whether or not he should rush over, he saw someone else flying toward the island. Steel Armor Shelter has more sacred blood wings. Who is the owner? King Xuan. Feeling odd, Hansen took another look and it was Thumb who was flapping a pair of bat-like wings. Hansen frowned, although he knew Thumb, but they could not be called friends and Thumb did not know that he was Dollar either. Using the identity of Dollar and as a competitor for the sacred blood beast souls on the mystery island, he was now Thumb's enemy. While Hansen was still thinking, Son of Heaven quickly flew to Thumb, which surprised Hansen. Although Son of Heaven and Thumb had some collaborations, they represented two major gangs in the shelter. It seemed odd that Son of Heaven had proactively approached Thumb. How about you and I work together to get rid of Dollar first? Son of Heaven said to Thumb. Why would I work with you? Thumb curled his lips and said, I can sell you the warframes that you want with 10% off. Son of Heaven said without blinking his eyes. 20% off, said Thumb. Alright, but you have to help me gain this sacred blood beast soul. Deal. After reaching the agreements, the two flew to Hansen. Hansen saw them, but did not seem to panic. Dollar, I am so sorry. I respect you a lot and do not want to antagonize you. However, Son of Heaven has paid well and I have to fight you. If you leave now, I will not stop you, Thumb said to Hansen aloud. I understand, but I have to get the sacred blood beast soul on the island, Hansen said calmly. Cut the crap. If you still want the discount, you know what to do. Son of Heaven summoned his bloody red sword and slashed at Hansen. Holding his round shield with one hand and a broadsword in the other, Thumb rushed to Hansen as well. The shield was the one that Hansen gave to Thumb, so Hansen knew how good it was. However, Hansen did not plan to retreat. Drawing his Shura katana out, he cut it to Son of Heaven's sword. Son of Heaven of course recognized the katana, which might be stronger than the Z steel weapons, but was not even close to his sacred blood sword. Not only was Dollar's weapon inferior to Son of Heaven's, but Son of Heaven had almost maxed out on all his Geno points and with his hyper Geno art, so he was definitely stronger than Dollar in physique. A few months ago, when Dollar was fighting Qin Xuan, he was not even able to beat her. Son of Heaven did not think that the guy's strength could be compared to his in such a short amount of time. Even though Dollar's strength was similar to his, Dollar would lose his balance after trying to block Son of Heaven's sword. By then, HW would have to take the deadly attack from Thumb. There was a dull noise of metal on metal. Bang! Son of Heaven was blown away by Hansen. He was only able to steady himself after a few seconds and his face darkened. How could he have become so strong? Son of Heaven could not accept the fact that Hansen's strength was so much greater than his. He had almost maxed out on all Geno points. Thumb, who had to come to Dollar, growled and attacked with his broadsword. However, Hansen's katana was so fast that when Thumb had only drawn his broadsword, Hansen's katana was already hitting his shield. Bang! Thumb was also blown away, which shocked Son of Heaven even more. He had seen Thumb's strength and how great his shield was. Dollar could ignore Thumb and his shield, which made him wonder how strong Dollar was right now. Hansen originally only wanted to test how well could he do at this point. It seemed that the effect was even better than he had imagined. Even Son of Heaven, who had almost maxed out on all Geno points, was inferior to him. The enhancement brought by Jadeskin was indeed tremendous. But then he thought of Zhu Longyan, who was able to use Jadeskin to cut a mutant weapon like it was made of tofu after being severely injured, and believed that he could do so much more with this hyper Geno art. Son of Heaven and Thumb became serious and attacked Hansen at the same time. Hansen used one katana to fight two foes and forced them to step back using Bladestorm. In Steel Armor Shelter, those who were watching their fight with binoculars were dumbstruck. Although they knew that Dollar was very strong, they did not realize that he was so strong that even Son of Heaven and Thumb combined could not stop him. Brother, I'm here to help you. Another person flapped a pair of wings and came close. It turned out to be Huanfu Pinking. This woman is trouble. Hansen frowned. Huanfu Pinking was obviously calling Son of Heaven, who was the young master of the Starry Group. Being the granddaughter of Huanfu Qingcheng, president of Ares Martial Hall, she could not be his sister. But Hansen had no time to think about it. Huanfu Pinking was not weak. If they were fighting one-on-one, Hansen could easily beat her. However, with two strong enemies attacking him at the same time, she would create a lot of troubles. The three were attacking Hansen at the same time, who moved quickly and used his katana to block all the blows, which made the onlookers surprised. Dollar is great. He could even handle three enemies at the same time. Had he showed up, Lin Feng might not have become the first chosen. So strong. How can he be so strong? Son of Heaven and Thumb are both going to max out on all Geno points. King Xuan said softly. It is shocking that Dollar has made so much progress since the contest. It's just been a few months, because he is Dollar, King said, holding his binocular. It is such a shame that Dollar was not in the final round of the contest, or he could have beaten Lin Feng, Yuan lamented. When people were feeling amazed, they suddenly heard metal smashed. Hansen's katana was not sacred blood after all and could no longer take the hits. When cut by the bloody sword of Son of Heavens, it was smashed into pieces. Without a weapon, Hansen had to turn away. Although he could fight all these 3 people, he could not kill Son of Heaven without a sacred blood weapon. Stop. Son of Heaven would not let him go and smacked the bloody sword at him. Hansen's eyes became cold and he suddenly shapeshifted into the bloody slayer. He waved his fist at the bloody sword and knocked the sword away. Hansen wanted to keep hitting Son of Heaven, while Thumb and Huangfu Pinking had come over, waving their weapons. Hansen forced Thumb back with one fist, and used his palm as a knife and struck at Huangfu Pinking. Ding! Huangfu Pinking's strength was weaker after all. Her sword was struck away and a silver 3-blade harpoon cut through the sacred blood armor on Hansen's arm. Blood was flowing. What a sharp harpoon. Hansen flapped his wings and flew higher. The 3 persons were chasing after him, but the higher they went, the stronger the wind was. With Jadeskin, Hansen did not fear the wind, yet the rest 3 were trembling and gradually slowed down. They had to watch Hansen land on the island and disappear from their sights. I was just wondering why Huangfu Pinking would be willing to sell the sacred blood beast souls. So she was only working together with Son of Heaven. What Hansen did not understand was why the flying beast soul bought by Lin Beifeng would appear on Son of Heaven. And Lin Beifeng was definitely not working together with them. There was little point in thinking about that right now. Without a sacred blood weapon, it was not very likely he could kill Son of Heaven today. Such a great loss. My katana was ruined and all that I have at this point is a mutant spear. Hansen had decided that he would gain the sacred blood beast soul on the mystery island to compensate his loss. When he came above the cloud, Hansen finally saw the entirety of the island. Above the ocean of clouds, there were magnificent mountains, among which one was outstanding. The sacred blood creature should reside in that mountain. Hansen went towards the mountain at his full speed, wanting to kill the sacred blood creature before everyone else and gain the beast soul. Before he could approach the mountain, Hansen stopped and was appalled. He did not dare to go any closer because of what he saw. On top of the mountain there was a tall tree with a huge canopy and exceptional fragrance. An angel-looking creature with white wings behind its back and a halo above its head was standing under the tree with both hands placed on the hilt of a sword stuck in a rock. The sword looked like it was made from diamond and glittered in the sunlight. A humanoid sacred blood creature, and it even has a sacred blood gear. Hansen was pleasantly surprised. If he could gain a sacred blood shapeshifting beast soul from this creature, it would be undoubtedly powerful, just like Bloody Slayer and Fairy Queen. According to people's experience, all humanoids were exceptionally powerful, even the Bloody Slayer, which was not that close to a human. If it was not for the one-off sacred blood arrow used by Son of Heaven, the Bloody Slayer would not have been killed. The 3 gangs were attacking the Bloody Slayer at the same time, and even the combined effort was almost thwarted. Hansen did not believe that himself was as strong as the Bloody Slayer, and he sensed that this creature was probably even stronger than Bloody Slayer. If Hansen could shapeshift into the Bloody Slayer for a long time, he would have some confidence. However, there was a time limit to that, and he might get himself killed if he risked to go over the limit. More importantly, the 3 people following him were about to arrive. If Hansen started to fight the creature right now, they would be able to take advantage of it. Thinking of this, Hansen did not hesitate to hide in the mountain and start observing. There was normally only one sacred blood creature on one mystery island. Hansen did not worry he might run into any danger and sat down on a tree where he could watch the sacred blood creature, waiting for the 3 to come. In less than half an hour, the 3 persons had arrived, faster than Hansen had thought. The 3 also saw the angel-like humanoid creature and reacted the same way Hansen did. They stopped far from the creature and did not dare to approach. "Dollar, come out. Let's talk." Son of Heaven stepped back and called after consulting with Thumb and Huangfu Pinking. Obviously, they were also terrified of that creature and were also worried that Hansen might take advantage of them. Hansen ignored them. Half a day had passed, and Son of Heaven did not dare to go into the mountains. "Dollar, let us talk. None of us can profit from this if we do nothing." Son of Heaven was worried. If it was some other sacred blood beast soul, he would probably let go. However, a humanoid sacred blood beast soul was very rare. If he missed this one, he might never see another in his lifetime. "Dollar, I will offer you $50 million to help me kill the creature, but the beast soul must be mine," said Son of Heaven. "I will give you $50 million for the beast soul." Son of Heaven held back his curse and said, "What would you want in return for this beast soul? Name your price." "1 sacred blood beast soul." Hansen said, "Dollar, I am only getting a sacred blood beast soul by killing this creature. Don't you feel that you're too greedy?" Son of Heaven wanted to kill Hansen at that moment. "I do not have to tell you the value of a humanoid sacred blood beast soul, right? Dollar, a humanoid beast soul is indeed precious, but you are asking for too much. How about we both compromise? We will offer 100 million for the beast soul." Huangfu Pinking smiled sensually and said, "I am not interested in money. A sacred blood beast soul, or may the best man or woman win. You decide," Hansen said decisively. "Since you do not know your place, I will have to teach you." Son of Heaven suddenly growled and moved to attack Hansen. Huangfu Pinking also summoned her bow and arrows and shot 7 arrows at Hansen at the same time. Hansen decided not to waste time on them and flew away. However, there was no wind on the island and Hansen was not fast enough to lose them. Huangfu Pinking's arrows also distracted Hansen and slowed him down. "Son of Heaven, if you promise to give me a sacred blood beast soul now, it is not too late. Otherwise you will regret it," exclaimed Hansen. "My only regret is not killing you earlier," said Son of Heaven, gritting his teeth. "Then you will continue to live with regret," Hansen laughed. Suddenly, Hansen changed his direction and rushed to where the creature was. The rest were dumbstruck. Thumb slowed down and said he went after the creature. "Should we follow him?" Son of Heaven said, "Do not slow down." Follow him. That bastard would never go risk his life. He is only trying to lose us. Thumb felt it was a reasonable explanation. Dollar could never be so stupid that he would hand his life over to the sacred blood creature. The three were following Han Sen as close as they could, but soon they felt that something was wrong. Han Sen went all the way to the mountain and did not intend to change direction or stop. Brother, it feels weird. We should stop, said Huanfu Pinking. Son of Heaven also felt that and gradually slowed down, but it was too late. Han Sen had already gone into the mountain. When he was 300 feet from the sacred blood creature, it suddenly opened its eyes, golden lightning bolts shining in its pupils and blonde hair dancing in the air. A sword as gorgeous as a diamond was also drawn from the rock. Spreading its wings, the creature flew up and threw itself at Han Sen. Han Sen moved towards the three at full speed. They suddenly understood that he was trying to force them to fight the creature. Shameless bastard. Let's run, cried the Son of Heaven. No way. We cannot make it. The creature is faster than we are, Thumb said calmly. We should work together to kill Dollar first, said Son of Heaven, seeing Han Sen was only 50 feet from them. The sacred blood creature had come behind Han Sen and slashed at him with its sword. Shapeshifting into the bloody slayer, Han Sen summoned his mutant spear and used it to block the sword. Crack. As a mutant weapon, the spear was cut into halves by the diamond sword. Shocked, Han Sen threw himself at the three. The three wanted to attack Han Sen, but was all appalled by how powerful the creature was. All of a sudden, Han Sen was already in front of them. When they were ready to attack Han Sen, he stopped less than 15 feet from them and turned to face the sacred blood creature. Having summoned his chopper, he used it to parry with the sacred blood creature. The chopper was a commonly seen beast soul weapon, so he was not worried that people might tell who Dollar was from it. Crack. The chopper was also cut in half by the diamond sword. Han Sen fell to the ground and dodged the sword of the creature. Now the sacred blood creature was faced with the other three. Without hesitation, the creature cut to Thumb, who was closest to it, with its sword. Thumb gritted his teeth and used his sacred blood shield to block the diamond sword. Ding! Thumb was forced back more than 50 feet before he could stop himself in the air. With a roar, he shapeshifted into a giant bear more than 9 feet tall. With his shield in one hand and his broadsword in the other, Thumb ran toward the sacred blood creature. He exclaimed, Dollar, now if we work together, we will have a chance to kill it. If you run away right now, if we could not gain any benefit, we will not leave anything to you. Just now when fighting with Han Sen, Thumb did not really want him dead. After all, he held no grudge against Han Sen. All Son of Heaven offered was a discount, and that was not worth risking his life. Come to the ground. We are not its match in the air, Han Sen cried while flying to the ground. Son of Heaven and the rest also knew that the flying speed of the creature was too fast for them to keep up with, so they followed Han Sen to the ground. Thumb was the last to follow. Using his sacred blood shapeshifting beast soul and sacred blood shield, he barely blocked the creature's sword. All four of them were now on the ground. They all took back their wings and shapeshifted into different creatures to attack the sacred blood angel-like creature. Han Sen had seen the strength of sacred blood creatures. He knew that with his own power, he could never kill the creature. The only chance was to collaborate with the three. He also had to try to kill the creature while they were still able to shapeshift, because the angel-like creature was too strong. Thumb was now a giant bear. Using his shield, he was fighting the creature head-on. Deep marks were left by the diamond sword on the sacred blood shield. Son of Heaven had turned himself into a huge lion. Huanfu Pinking did not shapeshift, but was shooting arrows from far away to limit the range of motion of the creature. Without a humanoid shapeshifting beast soul, she would not be able to use the weapon she was best at if she chose to shapeshift. Although all four of them were attacking the creature, they still did not cause much damage. Han Sen found a chance to cut at the creature, but his mutant dagger did not even break its armor. Damn it, without a sacred blood weapon, I could never kill this creature. Han Sen felt depressed. All he needed right now was a sacred blood weapon. It was such a shame that he had not bought the 3-blade harpoon, otherwise he would not be so helpless right now. Carry on. My shapeshifting would not last very long, exclaimed Thumb as he was blocking the blows from the creature. Most attacks from the creature were handled by Thumb. If his shield were not sacred blood, it would have been broken 1,000 times. Son of Heaven was also worried. Had he not given Luo Tianyang his sacred blood ape beast soul, which were ruined by Han Sen, he could do much better. Now with the lion beast soul, he could not use weapons after shapeshifting, so he could not commit his full strength. The three men could all last around 2 hours with shapeshifting. As time went by, they could not hurt the creature whatsoever. We could not keep doing this. Someone lend me a sacred blood weapon. Han Sen had to ask. Without a sacred blood weapon, all he could do was to distract the creature. There was no chance he could cause any damage, and their shapeshifting time was almost up. But none of the rest responded. It was a great risk to transfer a sacred blood beast soul to Han Sen. Who could tell if he would run away the moment he got the beast soul? Even if he did not run, no one was willing to see him killing the creature. Since we could not beat it, we should go home. Running out of shapeshifting time, Han Sen turned away to leave the mystery island. Without Han Sen, the rest could never beat the creature. With Thumb's defense, they also left the mystery island. The sacred blood creature of Mystery Island would not leave the island. So after they left, the sacred blood creature went back to the tree on that mountain. The plan to besiege the sacred blood creature had failed. After some discussion, the three went back to the shelter, because they did not believe that Han Sen would go find the creature alone. That creature was not something an individual could kill. Impressive. The beast soul of this creature must be amazing. Han Sen went back to the Mystery Island after dark. He needed to kill this creature, otherwise his katana and 2 mutant weapons would have been ruined for nothing. In fact, he had 1 sacred blood weapon, which was the sacred blood butterfly boomerang. However, it was a one-off weapon. If he did not have to, Han Sen would not use it. That will be all for now. I hope you find this story interesting. Leave a like, subscribe, and enable notifications so you won't miss the next part of this story. Have a wonderful day. Goodbye.